Our next reader is Maria Lisella, and she's from Long Island City. Her Pushcart Poetry Prize nominated work appears in Amore on Hope Street from Finishing Line Press and Two Naked Feet from Poets Wear Prada. Her collection, Thieves in the Family, has just been published by New York Quarterly Books. It's a wonderful book. If you get a chance to get it, I really love it. She co-curates the Italian American Writers Association monthly readings on the second Saturdays of each month. Let's welcome Maria Lisella.
You're there. You're on the ground. I feel like you and I are in the same family.
Lower that, honey.
Oh, sorry. I listen. I see them in heaven steamy with kitchen vapors. Zikadutsa rolling her napkin into Tootsie Rolls, repeating her mantra. No man is good enough for any woman. She had a bad husband, I tell myself. Z Foley presses vanilla-scented pizzelle. Cugina Lisabetta beats an octopus into submission. Cooks it pink, tender, drizzled with olive oil, sprinkled with oregano. Laughter. I hear it among them. I'm on the other side of the curtains one of them sewed. It matches the tablecloths, the aprons, made of remnants gathered from the sweatshop floor. I'm not allowed to banter. I'm invisible. But I see and hear them. Through the drone of my mother's lunch report today, I heated up the salmon you gave me. My knees are talking to me all day. So I stayed in. Then I made myself a nice cup of coffee. I want to moan. I tune her out, yet hear Z. Kadutsa's other mantra. You only get one mother. Mom says, I had a busy night last night. Everyone came. My room was full. The march of the unrestful dead. Husband, sisters, cousins. She says, my mother reminded me of all the things we used to make for Christmas. Stuffed olives, pickled zucchini, eggplant salad. I snap to attention, scribble down the recipes. Thank you.
You tell Maria's used to taking care of her mother. I know, and she's wonderful. How old is she? She's
95.
Oh my. Well, I hope I'm in that good shape when I finally hit 95. I think it's probably unlikely, but anyway. Our next reader is Elizabeth Marchetti, and Elizabeth's poetry has been in the Journal of New Jersey Poets, Lips, the Paterson Literary Review, and other journals. Her chapbook, Pause and Begin Again, was published in 2006. In 2011, her poem won first place in St. Catherine's Art and Poetry Exhibition. Let's welcome Elizabeth Marchetti. Please come watch. Don't fall.
Nothing like sitting for a while, then I can't move. We were coming home from Manasquan one night, and it was late, and they roll up the sidewalks in total around 10 o'clock. You know, there's no traffic. And I just got this feeling. I said, I'm home. And I had to write this poem about it. Hallelujah. I have fallen in love with my hometown at last. It's something that grew over the years. I have, after all, been living here since 1966. At first, I missed my penthouse, that third-floor apartment under an almost flat roof, hot in summer, cold in winter, where we could see the sky through the spaces in the wainscoting of the kitchen walls. My children missed the noise, even the dirt of the city, their friends at school, the possibility of walking to church and to the library. I missed my 3 clotheslines and my downstairs neighbor, Angela, my view of the sky from my back porch, and my imagining of the Passaic Falls off there in the distance beyond the rooftops. I learned to love where I live. The song of the birds no longer awakens me in early morning. Sparrows have become my muses. I delight in the sight of the tufted titmouse and his quick visit to the feeder. I find the Totowa Public Library a haven, and a quick trip to Barnes & Noble in nearby Woodland Park a blessing. I love the traffic lights on Union Boulevard and the drivers who use Dewey Avenue as a shortcut during rush hour. I love the schools where my children grew up, the maple trees that used to shade Dewey Avenue, and the pear trees that bloom there now in the spring. I have fallen in love with my hometown at last.
And Richard Moranca's not here, is that correct? Okay, so then our next reader is Matt Pasca from Bayshore, New York. And just a second, and I will. Matt Pasca's poetry has appeared in more than a dozen journals, including Georgetown Review, Kestrel, Weave, Naugatuck River Review, and Pedestal Magazine, as well as 9 print anthologies. His first book, 1,000 Doors, was nominated for the 2012 Pushkar Prize in Poetry and is currently taught at 2 New York high schools. A 2003 New York State Teacher of Excellence, Pasca has been excavating literature and igniting creativity with students since 1997 and advises the school literary magazine. Matt maintains a steady performance, workshop, and keynote itinerary and serves as reviewer and workshop coordinator for the Long Island Authors Group at Matt Pasca. Let's welcome Matt.
Thank you, Maria. Maria visited our school, the school where I teach, about 12 years ago, and it's an honor to know her and to be part of anything she puts together. Fever. His eyelids flutter like bed sheets from summer clothespins, snow-skinned burning as I hoist him from sick couch to toilet, this long boy who even eats while moving, now listless, a cat purring, his only friend. We check a small digital window, then revisit the ancient hand to forehead, tracing crescent cheek. Doctors and pills only cloak the Fahrenheit, the frenzied road snaking through pillows and words once familiar, fractions of mind never adding up to one. The low winter sun has turned his lashes to candles, and I cup his boiling chest, cross veins to burnished hairline, reassure him through the lost certainty of night. No, he did not turn in my belly, breathe my air, eat my food, or traverse the magic locks of my body. But I have tended this stalk, now battered, my fingers bald and desperate to stem the wilting loosed by wind. I arrange myself on a sturdy chair behind his moaning and dig in until this breaks.
Our next reader is Robert Rosenblum, and he's from Boundbrook, New Jersey, and he's, I have to say, one of our most faithful Poetry Center regulars. Robert Rosenblum is, just a second, a certified civil trial attorney who lives in Bound New Jersey with his family. He has a master's degree in creative writing from CCNY. His poems have appeared in the Paterson Literary Review, the Edison Literary Review, US 1 Worksheets, Exit 13, and Lips, among others. Finishing Line Press published his chapbook, Reunion, in 2010. Let's welcome Robert Rosenblum.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been coming to the center since around 2000, and I just keep coming back, and I attend a lot of the readings and also the workshops in the morning. So if anybody wants to sort of like participate in the workshops, they're just great. And you see all kinds of poets, and like a couple of years ago we had Richard Blanco do a workshop, the guy who read at the inauguration. So there are a lot of like famous poets who read. He's just one, but there's so many. The poem I'm going to read is Aaron 24/7, and my first name is Aaron, my real first name. My parents sort of screwed that up a little bit. My father was supposed to register me as Aaron, no, as Robert, sorry, I screw it up too. He's supposed to register me as Robert, which is my mother's family, and that's her name. He took advantage of that and somehow put his family name on my birth certificate in Manhattan at the Bureau of Vital Records. So that's sort of like how that worked. But my mother got even by calling me Robert all the time. And if someone calls you Robert and feeds you and does everything else you, picks you up at school, brings a raincoat, brings galoshes to school for you, that's the name you're going to go with probably. And my father worked at night, so what the hell did he know? The poem appears as a dedication to WPG. WPG is the Westfield Poetry Group, which I participate in. So that's where WPG comes from. And Aaron, I got to say, I'm getting used to it because you see a lot of it, and you hear a lot of it. There's Aaron Rodgers, who's the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. There's Aaron Rowan, who used to play center field for the Phillies. He's now playing center field and bumping into walls for some other team. I forgot which one. And then there's Aaron Hernandez, who's been charged with murder. So there's a lot of Aaron to go around. It's the substitute teacher who didn't know enough to call me by my middle name, the name the regular teacher knew, the name my mother wanted, the name my father switched when he went to register my birth. Sensitive, I go home and cry, my eyes out, return from lunch with a note from my mother that says, call him Robert. It's the state trooper on I-40 who stops me for doing 84 in a 75 zone and asks me what I'm doing so far from home in Oklahoma. My son's riding shotgun. He speeds worse than I do, but looks at me as if to say, can't help you, Aaron, it's your ticket. It's Aaron, the prophet's brother, mouthpiece for the Jews who did all the talking, tongue-tied Moses, Pharaoh, let him go. It's Aaron, the brains behind the outfit. Aaron, who also hears voices from God, like Tapa. Why didn't I ever hear, Aaron, you're so handsome. Aaron, take off my blouse and bra. Touch my breasts. Let me touch you. Aaron, oh Aaron, I'm sorry your parents played a dirty trick on you with your name, so like them in their endless bickering. Aaron, what a bittersweet story. Take off my skirt, reach into my underwear, enter the land of milk and honey.
Okay. Our next reader is Ellen Surratt, and she comes from Cambridge, Massachusetts. And she's a poet and editor in Massachusetts and has recently had poems in Adana Literary Journal and the anthology Women Write Resistance, Poets Resist Gender Violence. Her reviews have appeared in the Women's Review of Books. Let's welcome Ellen Surratt.
I'm not from New Jersey. but I'm not really originally from Massachusetts. I just want to let you all relax. I was born across the river. And I have a friend here who's lived in New Jersey. The poem is called Rehearsal. Entering your home in your absence, I taste your death, foretaste of my own. You are the house I had to leave. You are a house leaving me. Today, your son and I root among your things, robes, nightgowns, slippers, bras, pants, no stockings, shoes, to take you from hospital to a home. Our fingers rifle, searching out insurance, deed, will, unconversable words, instructions oracular enough we can think they mean nothing needing action now. My brother stops, leaning on a chair, table, something he always has assumed will bear him up. Shutting these close rooms you may not come home to, we rehearse, remove perishables to feed on later, thieve now bracelets, rings, things we will inherit for safety's sake, unplug cords, leaving 2 lamps timed to light and go out. Thank you.
Our next reader is Lauren Schmidt, and Lauren is the author of Two Black Eyes and a Patch of Hair Missing, The Voodoo Doll Parade, and the Psalms of the Dining Room. Schmidt is an instructor of developmental English at Passaic County Community College, and she volunteers teaching creative writing at a transitional house for homeless mothers. Let's welcome Lauren Schmidt.
As Maria said, I volunteer at a transitional housing program for unwed homeless mothers, and this poem came out of that experience, and it's called Expectations, and it's for Brittany. In your journal you write, my mama says she gave me a white girl name so I could one day get a good job and have a better life than hers. My mother wanted to name me Donaire or Arlene. Donaire because she heard the name once and loved it. Arlene because her then best friend was Arlene. For a time before I was born, I was a Laura, like my great-grandmother, who laughed through her nose and ate lemons, she said, so she could live until she was 100. Laura died at 94. But when I came into the world, my mother's obstetrician proposed Lauren, and my parents signed the name to my certificate. They signed both their names on either side. My mother said she knew exactly when she conceived me, as if I were a dream she made up with her own body, as if she willed me here, her little girl. I imagined the two of them, my father, 26 with 2 sons, 2 jobs, tired from tending bar, lying with his wife in bed, stroking the half basketball beneath her cotton nightie, and my mother hugging the underside of her belly, beaming at her high school sweetheart husband. I imagine the two of them breathing me into being, each saying, I hope she has your eyes, or definitely your sense of humor, assigning to me the best they see in themselves. Instead, your mother named you Brittany, trying not to see the food stamps, the 2 thin walls, the empty side of her bed. In Brittany, she saw an aunt and grandmother on the night of your birth get trapped in a department store buying you dresses, too busy holding up tiny plastic hangers with pink frills and white flowers, too busy cooing to note that the store had already closed. In Brittany, she saw a baby girl who took nearly 3 years to walk because nobody in the family could bear to put her down. She saw birthday cakes, graduations, a big white wedding where your father would give you away. Today, a mother now, you write that people will never see you as a Brittany. They say you're more Latasha or Denisha, more Aisha or Kiana, more Sherelle or Shonda. They say you're more Latoya than Lily, more Deandra than Brianna, more Khadijah than Courtney. But you, Brittany, you say, if they don't expect me to be what I am, I'll blow their minds in more ways than one.
I'm going to put a little plug in now. Lauren Schmidt and Martina Spada, and we've had Martina Spada here as a featured reader a number of times. And you know he's a wonderful, amazing poet. And Lauren and Martine are going to read in the Montclair Public Library series that Laura Boss and I run. And they'll be reading on the first Thursday evening in December. I hope you'll come out for that. Martine, just stand up so we can give you a round of applause for your amazing poetry. Anyway, I think it's going to be a really fantastic reading, and I hope to see a lot of you there. Our next reader is Steve Smith, and just a second, Steve. Let me find your bio. He attended the School of Visual Arts in New York, where he earned a BFA. A fine artist as well as a poet, Steve worked in theater and feature film production, painting scenery for the past 30 years, and is now retired. Steve resides in Pennington, New Jersey. Let's welcome Steve Smith.
Thank you, Maria. It's a real privilege. My poem is called Training. We chose sides, our mouths shouting like machine guns and artillery shells exploding. My platoon pursued the enemy to the top of a hill overlooking the neighborhood, cut them off and captured them because it was their turn, marched them to the backyard, lined them up and pointed branches and fingers at them, barked our best bullet sounds, and they fell softly and unbloodied onto mowed lawns. One sat up and pointed his finger at my back and shouted, "Bam, bam!" I threw my arms out like I'd seen the enemy do in John Wayne movies and fell down carefully. It was dinner time, so we agreed to resume the war the next day. Then headed home. My friend John announced, "I'm not afraid to die." "Me neither," said my other friend. "Me neither," I said, pretending to light a candy cigarette, looking forward to when I wouldn't have to pretend. Thank you.
Our next reader is John J. Trouse, and John Trouse is the author of, I always forget I'm very short, is the author of Eye Candy for Andy, 13 Most Beautiful Poems for Andy Warhol Screen Tests, Inside Out, Upside Down, and Round. The chapbook Seriously Serial and Latter Day Litany, the latter staged off Broadway. He is founder of the William Carlos Williams Poetry Cooperative in Rutherford, New Jersey, and the former host and curator of its monthly reading series from 2006 through 2012. Let's welcome John J. Trouse.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Maria, for this honor of being included in this issue of the Paterson Literary Review. I'm John J. Trouse, and this is my poem. The Large Ladies of Land's End and L.L. Bean. And it has an epigraph from Gertrude Stein. I know she's one of my favorite writers. I know she's experimental, but I do love her.
That's okay.
And this is the first line of her amazing poem, Lifting Belly, which she wrote in between 1915 and 1917. I have been heavy and had much selecting. Gertrude Stein. Because I am not satisfied by the limited palette of men's clothes, especially in turtlenecks. Because I want a turtleneck in every shade without limitation, and will wear them. Because I want a turtleneck, traditional or mock, in every shade available, not just in men's. Because traditionally the palette for women's clothes is far more vast and specialized. Because I wear men's extra large and triple extra large in women's. Because Land's End and LL Bean are most accommodating and do not ask questions. But because Land's End and LL Bean do not ask questions, but make assumptions. Because Land's End and LL Bean engage in marketing techniques to zero in by choices. I receive mail order catalogs from Land's End and LL Bean and get promotionals online. I see the large women, tall of stature, thick of thigh, wide of waist, high of hip, in awkward poses meant to be casual and camera ready. They pose before the camera, and the large ladies who shop, they look at me in their capris and scarves and long coats, car coats, blouses, and, yes, turtlenecks. They smile at me in their sport and work and play, displaying turtlenecks in every shade, stone, vermilion, evening spruce, autumn sunset, brick heather, purple, plum tart, ocean tropic, evening blue, teal frost heather, eggshell, sage, soft cherry, camel. Because I am not satisfied, I give thanks to the large ladies of Land's End and LL Bean for being large, for living large, for buying large, and letting me live large or triple extra large, too. And note that Land's End is a registered trademark of Land's End. LL Bean is a registered trademark of LL Bean Incorporated. Thank you.